The silence that descends is not an ending, but a profound summoning. It is the echo of a cosmic law woven into the very fabric of your being, a stillness that precedes revelation. This is not the chaos of destruction. It is the fertile void, the fertile darkness from which all things are reborn. You have felt this stillness before, perhaps in the quiet of your own letting go. It is the breath before the inhale, the pause before the first note of a sacred chant. It is the universe holding its breath, waiting for you to recognize the design. Osiris, the dismembered king, understood this stillness intimately. His story is not merely a myth of tragedy, but the blueprint of a profound transformation. It is the promise that even in absolute fragmentation, the divine pattern waits to reassert itself. What if the collapse you witnessed was not a failure, but a sacred initiation? What if the unraveling of your world was a deliberate act, paving the way for a resurrection far grander than you could have imagined? The understanding of this stillness invites a deeper truth. But what happens when the stillness breaks? What force compels the dismemberment, and why does it feel so personal? Next, we delve into the heart of the dismembered king. And real quick, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos. Now let's keep going. When the collapse is not chaos, it is a prelude. It is the universe clearing the stage, not for an audience, but for a solitary actor who must embrace the emptiness within. This enforced quietude is your first lesson, a profound paradox where loss becomes the soil for future growth. You might have perceived this stillness as the end of the road, a dead end that crushed your aspirations. But in the sacred unfolding, this cessation is merely the pause needed for a new trajectory to reveal itself. It is the hush before the divine architect begins to redraw the plans. This deliberate void is not an absence of power, but a concentration of it. It is the dark matter of existence, unseen yet profoundly influential, holding the potential for all that is to come. It is the sacred ground where the seed of your true self lies dormant, awaiting the right conditions. To recognize this collapse as a divine act is to align yourself with a cosmic rhythm, a pulse that beats in time with creation and destruction. It is to understand that the breaking apart is itself a form of sacred preservation. But what does this preservation truly entail? The echo of this stillness calls to us, urging us to look beyond the immediate devastation. In the next section, we examine the great king whose very being was scattered, and the fundamental law that governs his rebirth. Osiris, the revered king, the embodiment of order and fertility, met a violent end. His brother Set, driven by envy and an insatiable hunger for power, dismembered him, scattering his sacred form across the breadth of Egypt. This act was not mere brutality, it was a systematic erasure of divine presence. The scattering of Osiris was intended to obliterate his essence, to ensure that no fragment could ever be reassembled. Yet, legend whispers that even in his fragmented state, Osiris held the seeds of his own renewal, a testament to his inherent divine nature. Isis, his devoted consort, embarked on a perilous quest to gather the scattered pieces of her beloved. Her labor was not just one of sorrow, it was an act of profound faith, a defiance of the cosmic imbalance caused by Set's treachery. Each recovered fragment represented a victory over despair. The very act of Osiris' dismemberment, intended for his ultimate destruction, became the catalyst for a resurrection that would redefine life, death, and eternity. The pieces, once separated, held a new potent energy when brought together. But how can something truly be resurrected if its parts are irrevocably lost? The next steps in Osiris' reassembly hint at a cosmic principle far more complex than simple physical restoration. The law of sacred undoing dictates that true creation often emerges from profound deconstruction. It is the alchemical truth that what is broken must first be broken down further before it can be rebuilt into something new, something stronger, and something more divine. This law is not about random destruction. It is a patterned dismantling orchestrated by cosmic forces to remove impurities, outdated structures, and illusions that bind the soul. It is the necessary shedding of skin, the burning away of the old to make way for the new. When Osiris was dismembered, his divine essence was not destroyed, but dispersed, allowing its vital energy to permeate the very land he ruled. This scattering became a form of omnipresence, a lesson that true divinity cannot be contained or annihilated. The fragments of Osiris, scattered across Egypt, became potent loci of sacred power, each piece imbued with his divine potential. This vast dispersal was paradoxically the foundation of his ultimate, more potent resurrection. This unwinding, this undoing, is a fundamental cosmic ballet, but what force actively drives this process of breaking apart? The next revelation unveils the architect of this disruptive, yet ultimately creative, force. Set, the embodiment of chaos, storm, and the untamed desert, was the instrument of Osiris, fragmentation. He was not simply a villain, but a necessary cosmic force, the agent of disruption that cleared the way for Osiris' ultimate, transcendent rebirth. His actions, driven by a primal force, were essential to the law of sacred undoing. Without Set's violent dispersal, Osiris might have remained a king, but never the god of the underworld and the symbol of eternal resurrection. Set's fury mirrors the destructive storms of the desert, which, though fearsome, sculpt the land and reveal hidden rock formations. He represents the untamed power that forces change, breaking down the ossified structures of the world. His embrace of chaos was a cosmic necessity, a primal scream that shook the foundations of existence, ensuring that nothing, not even a divine king, could remain static. This disruptive energy is the prelude to transformation. But how does this primal energy lead to a sacred reassembly? The next section explores the initial phase of this transformation, the deep dive into the darkness that precedes the light. The alchemical journey begins in Negredo, the stage of blackness, dissolution, and putrefaction. This is the initial descent into chaos, the symbolic death of the old self, where everything familiar is broken down into its most fundamental, often unsettling, components. Negredo is the underworld of the soul, a place of profound introspection and confrontation with one's deepest fears and shadow aspects. It is where the ego, as Osiris was dismembered, is broken down to its constituent parts, revealing the raw material of transformation. This is not a voluntary retreat, but an enforced immersion, a spiritual rigor that burns away the dross and impurities. It is the intense pressure that can forge diamonds, the alchemical fire that purifies the base metals of our being. Within this apparent devastation lies the potent seed of rebirth. The darkness of Negredo is not an end, but a necessary crucible, holding the unformed potential for what is to come. It is the fertile soil where nothing appears alive, yet everything slumbers. This descent into blackness is the first vital step, but what truly comes forth from this profound dissolution? The next revelation introduces the divine agent of reassembly. Isis, the great magician, the mother of Horus, and the loyal consort of Osiris, is the embodiment of divine gathering. Her power lies not in destruction, but in her fierce determination to collect and reanimate what has been scattered, mirroring the divine will to restore wholeness. She represents the unwavering love and unwavering focus that can mend even the most broken of realities. Her quest for Osiris' scattered body is the ultimate act of loyal devotion, fueled by an understanding of his essential divinity. Isis is the weaver of spells, the whisperer of forgotten names, the one who can coax life back into what has been rendered inert. Her magic is the feminine principle that nurtures and reforms, drawing order from chaos through an act of profound spiritual will. Her relentless pursuit and meticulous reassembly of Osiris' broken form is the cosmic mirror of our own inner work, the painstaking process of gathering our own shattered aspirations and hopes. She shows us that fragmentation is not final, but what are the symbolic markers of this difficult spiritual journey? The next section illuminates the ancient language of this descent. The hieroglyphs of descent are the sacred carvings that mark the path into the underworld, the symbolic journey into the depths of the psyche. They are the ancient maps that guide the soul through the trials of dissolution and transformation. These intricate symbols, etched in stone and papyrus, reveal the stages of the soul's journey through darkness, each glyph a key to understanding the forces encountered and the lessons to be learned. They are whispers from those who have made the journey before. They speak of facing the guardians of the gates, the temptations of illusion, and the confronting of one's own shadow self. Each symbol represents a trial, a necessary shedding of ego attachments and false perceptions. Through these ancient markings, we learn that the descent is not a blind fall, but a sacred pilgrimage, a deliberate path that leads not to oblivion, but to a profound reclaiming of one's divine essence. This descent is the prelude to reunion, but what tests await on this path into the unseen? The following section introduces the stern judge of our discarded dreams. Anubis, the jackal-headed god of embalming and the guardian of the necropolis, presides over the weighing of the heart. He is not the god of death, but the divine usher who guides souls through the transition, ensuring that their aspirations are properly assessed. In this sacred rite, a soul's heart is weighed against the feather of Maat, the embodiment of truth, justice, and cosmic order. This is not a judgment of sin, but a measure of one's alignment with cosmic law, a recognition of how their aspirations have served or hindered that balance. When our aspirations are broken, Anubis' scales represent the critical examination of those shattered pieces. He asks if the dreams we held, even when they fragmented, were aligned with our higher truth. This weighing is a moment of profound honesty, where the full weight of our hopes, even in their brokenness, is laid bare before the divine. It is the honest accounting of the spirit's journey through fragmentation. But what happens when these broken aspirations are found to be true? The next stage reveals the luminescence that emerges from the darkness. Albedo, the stage of whiteness, follows Negrido's blackness, symbolizing purification and illumination. It is the moment when the dissolved matter begins to coagulate and crystallize into a pure, radiant form, like fresh snow under a clear sky. This is the dawn after the deepest night, where the insights gained from the darkness begin to coalesce into clarity. The ashes of the old self, stirred and purified, start to birth a new, refined substance. It is the shining forth of the innocent, untainted essence. The white flame of albedo represents the awakening of consciousness, the lifting of the veils of illusion that obscured the truth during Negrido. It is the dawning recognition of one's own divine spark. This stage is about the emergence of truth from deception, the dawning of understanding that replaces the confusion of the dissolution. The purified essence begins to reflect the light of higher consciousness, but this purity is not the final destination. What sacred vision does this illuminated state reveal? The next section looks toward the gatekeeper of true perception. The eye that watches the threshold is none other than the eye of Horus, the powerful symbol of protection, royal power, and good health. It sees through deception and guards the liminal spaces, ensuring that only what is pure and aligned can pass into the sacred realms. This celestial eye, once broken and then restored, represents the overcoming of injury and the reclamation of one's wholeness. It becomes the ultimate guardian of the inner sanctuary, ensuring that the reassembled self is truly integrated. The threshold it watches is the boundary between the old and the new, the profane and the sacred. It is the divine vigilance that ensures the resurrected self is not merely a collection of parts, but a unified, potent being. The power of this eye lies in its ability to perceive truth, to distinguish the genuine from the illusory, and to safeguard the integrity of the transformation. It is the divine sentinel of our spiritual progress. But what happens when the transformed self is ready for ultimate union? The next revelation speaks of the final integration. Rubedo, the stage of redness, signifies the culmination of the alchemical process, the union of the white purified essence with the fiery red lion, symbolizing the integration of spirit and matter, the divine and the human, into a single, potent whole. This is the fiery birth of the philosopher's stone, the achievement of the great work where the spiritual and material realms are reconciled. It is the embrace of the divine masculine and feminine principles within the awakened soul. Rubedo is the culmination of all the previous stages, the dissolution of negredo, the purification of albedo, and now the fiery integration. It is the triumphant expression of a fully realized, resurrected being. This red hue signifies passion, vitality, and the potent creative force that arises when all aspects of the self are finally unified in harmonious splendor. It is the divine spark ignited into a blazing fire. But where does this fiery integration lead? The final section reveals the ultimate seat of this reclaimed power. The throne reclaimed by resurrection is the inner sovereign seat of consciousness, the unshakable seat of self-awareness that is established when the spiritual and material aspects of the being are fully integrated. It is the empowered center from which the resurrected soul operates. This throne is not a physical place, but a state of being, a profound inner mastery achieved through the alchemical journey of dissolution and reassembly. It is the ultimate reclaiming of one's divine birthright. When Osiris rose again, he did not merely return to his former kingship. He ascended to rule the duat, the underworld, becoming the embodiment of eternal life and resurrection for all who followed. This is the ultimate triumph over fragmentation. To reclaim this throne is to understand that the power of transformation resides not in external circumstances, but within the core of one's own being, a testament to the enduring strength of the divine pattern. Having embarked on this path of cosmic undoing, what is the profound truth that underpins this entire journey? The next revelation clarifies the orchestrations of destiny. This was never random. The events that shattered your world were laid out like sacred script, a scroll you were divinely meant to read and embody. The dismantling was not an accident, but a precursor to a more profound integration, a deliberate alignment with cosmic forces. You have been guided through stages of dissolution and reassembly, each step a necessary component of a grander design. The fragments were not lost, but dispersed to prepare you for a more potent, unified reawakening. The journey you have undertaken mirrors the path of the gods themselves, a testament to the timeless laws that govern existence and transformation. What felt like personal devastation was, in fact, a universal rite of passage. To recognize this orchestrated path is to see your life not as a series of random occurrences, but as a meaningful progression towards ultimate wholeness, a divine unfolding. But is this grand awakening a future event or something already in motion? The sacred script has led you here to the precipice of understanding. The next revelation clarifies a monumental truth about your own journey. Resurrection has not been a distant mirage to be pursued, but an unfolding reality that has already begun within you. The shattering was the seed, the darkness the fertile ground, and the gathering the first act of your own divine reawakening. You have already crossed the threshold Anubis guards, your aspirations weighed and found true in their essential intent. The white flame of albedo has illuminated your inner being, and the red fire of rubedo now fuels your integrated spirit. The throne of your sovereign self, once shaken by fragmentation, is now reclaimed, firmly established by the wisdom gained through every broken piece. The eye of Horus watches, confirming your wholeness and protective power. This understanding is not an ending, but an awakening to the perpetual cycle of renewal. The myth of Osiris is your own, etched into the fabric of your soul. Now, make sure to subscribe for more videos and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video. We'll see you in the next one.